You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Another day has brought another LSU player jumping in the portal, and Sage Ryan has been a bit of a lightning rod for LSU fans throughout his time in Baton Rouge. And my stance on Sage Ryan, my stance on Sage Ryan has been pretty consistent. He was a convenient target for LSU fans throughout his 4 years in Baton Rouge. But I have maintained Sage Ryan during his 4 years in Baton Rouge has been a consummate team guy. He was a 5-star coming out of high school, and he didn't ask for the star rating. But whenever someone has 5-star next to their name, the expectation dramatically ramps up. Fair or unfair, that's what happened. Sage Ryan came to Baton Rouge as a freshman in 2021, had hamstring issues that cost him his season, so he redshirted in 2021. In 2022, remember Brian Kelly's first year, they brought in a whole bunch of transfer portal guys in the secondary. They brought in Jark Bernard-Converse and Mekhi Gardner and Greg Brooks and Joe Fouché. And Sage Ryan, as a result, played nickel. That is not his natural position. He is a safety, but he played nickel because the coaches asked him to play nickel. And then in 2023, when you whiffed on all of those cornerbacks in the portal, Deuce Chestnut, and Denver Harris, and J.K. Johnson got injured. Zy Alexander worked out. They asked Sage Ryan, because he was athletic and could run and tackle, to play boundary corner. He's not a boundary corner. He's a safety. But 3 years into his career, Sage Ryan had been injured. He played nickel, then he played boundary corner. It wasn't until this year, his fourth in the program, that he finally played safety. Now, you can roll your eyes and say, well, he wasn't very good at safety this year. And I would agree that LSU's safety play this year was not very good. However, Sage Ryan was the fourth highest rated defensive starter on LSU's team this year, according to Pro Football Focus. Braden Swinson was your highest graded starter, followed by Zy Alexander, Savion Jones, and then Sage Ryan. Sage Ryan was one spot ahead of Whit Weeks this year in his defensive grade from Pro Football Focus. I'm not telling you, like I always say, PFF isn't the metric, it's a metric. But there were times where Sage Ryan was good this year. Collectively, defensively, you weren't very good. And your safety play was not. But if I'm going to go to the opposite end of the spectrum, your two lowest graded starters were Major Burns and Jordan Gilbert. Guys that also played safety for you. I'm not sitting here telling you Sage Ryan was an all-conference performer. And because you have to improve at safety, you're very clearly, all these reports, you're going into the portal looking for starting safety help. Probably one of the reasons why Sage Ryan is going to go play somewhere else. Because his job security is threatened. Maybe he wants to feel like he can go get paid. Now, a year ago, Sage Ryan went into the portal, if you remember. He did go into the portal a year ago. And he, as I understand the story, had a big NIL ask. LSU said, no thank you. He went into the transfer portal. Maybe the interest wasn't as robust as he had thought or hoped. And so he came back to LSU and ended up playing safety and having a nice season. Maybe he's testing the market again to see if he could try to capitalize. I wish him well. But for LSU now, you look and say, okay, what's going to happen there at safety? Because for me, as I often say it, you have wants and needs and musts. Like I identify like running back as a want. It's not a need. You're returning Caden Durham. You're bringing in two running backs, including the number one running back in the country. You move Juwan Johnson to running back. Trey Holly could come back, don't know. But the point is, you're not in a dire position at running back. You'd like to have another one, but it's not super imperative. You know, I've listed linebacker as a need. Offensive line as a need. Musts, like non-negotiable. You got to go sign a tight end, probably multiple. You got to go sign a receiver, probably multiple. You got to go get better at safety. That is an absolute must. And if you subscribe to actions speak louder than words, I mean, look at what they're doing. Hat tip, this is Steve Wiltfong over at On3, who's their national recruiting analyst. Steve Wiltfong and Shea Dixon from On3 collaborated on a report. Shea was with us here on the show on Tuesday, and he told us about Zechariah Poyser. Zechariah Poyser is a safety from Jacksonville State, one of the top players in the portal, and he's going to be visiting LSU, Auburn, and Florida. So LSU's in the mix for one of the top safeties in the portal. The number one safety in the portal is Dylan Thaman from Purdue. According to Steve Wiltfong, Thaman will visit Oregon, Ohio State, and he's having dialogue presently with LSU. The Tigers are on the short list, and they're trying to get him to campus for a visit. So when you see that LSU is very much in the mix for two of the premier safeties in the portal, the writing's on the wall. And actions speak louder than words. You can tell me whatever you want, but when you're actively pursuing top portal safeties, clearly you know you need to improve at that position. The other one, a wild card that I threw out to you earlier in the week, is Jacobe Matthews. We all know Jacobe Matthews' story. He was a five-star from Ponchatoula, went to Texas A&M, was a starter not this season but last year. Entered the transfer portal in the spring window, was looking at Ole Miss and LSU. Because it was the spring window, he couldn't transfer within the conference, so he didn't play football in 2024. Jacobe Matthews didn't. But as I understand it, I received a couple phone calls earlier this week that he is looking to play football in 2025, very likely in the SEC. It would make sense the two schools that I just mentioned he was looking at in the spring with Ole Miss and LSU could be potential spots there. Again, I don't have anything further, just that Matthews wants to play. LSU would have been interested in the spring. You're looking at a safety now. Why not again? So in any event, Dylan Thaman, the Purdue safety, who we haven't talked about yet, is interesting. On3 ranks him as the number one safety in the portal. He was a freshman All-American in 2023. Actually, the Football Writers Association of America voted him the National Defensive Freshman of the Year. Remember, Caleb Downs last year at Alabama was a freshman, had the best, started at safety at Alabama a year ago. And the Football Writers Association of America voted Thaman from Purdue the National Defensive Freshman of the Year. So that's the kind of player. This year as a sophomore, as a freshman, he had 106 tackles. As a sophomore, 104 tackles, a sack, 4.5 TFLs, and 6 passes defended. So you're talking about a dude that is a plug-and-play starter at safety, which is certainly a position of need. So on one hand, Sage Ryan entering the portal, that's a guy who'd played a lot of football for you. Sage Ryan started 21 games. He played in 43 during his LSU career. 43 games played, 21 games started. He played nickel and boundary corner and safety, played all over. You're going to lose a lot of experience, but you might be upgrading there if you can land one of these portal safeties. So that's one to follow as we move throughout this portal cycle. The positions of need are very obvious for LSU, and safeties among them. I referenced that Steve Wiltfong report. A couple other things we've already told you. Jakeem Jackson, the cornerback from Florida, they're reporting he arrived on campus Wednesday for his visit. Everyone's projecting Jakeem Jackson to end up at LSU. We talked about Will Helt, the Purdue defensive end. He got to LSU on Wednesday. He'll go to Texas A&M this weekend, then presumably make a decision. Jamari Butler, the edge out of Nebraska, visit LSU's battling Texas A&M also for Jamari Butler. What else was on there? One more. Oh, this is one more that On3 reported. Purdue tight end Max Clare, Klare, is expected to visit LSU this weekend per Shea Dixon. So LSU is in the mix, very much in the mix for some of the top players in the portal. Oklahoma wide receiver Nick Anderson is expected on campus Sunday. So LSU, as expected, very much in the mix for some of the top players in this portal cycle. You have to close them. I'll continue to say it again. Ask me in a month. Ask me in a month, the end of December, when the portal window closes and we have a much better sense of what the roster looks like for 2025. Ask me in a month. But so far, the early returns are good. You're in the mix for top players at gigantic positions of need. Now you got to close it. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.